Were any of you inspired to go watch The Karate Kid after our last episode with Craig Cooke talking about business kung fu? I hope so. It's a classic from my youth. Hang on for the rest of our interview with Craig.
You know, when I was your age, go ask your mother. I know you don't like it. It builds character. How many times do I have to tell you? I'm not just talking to hear my own voice.
Hello, listener, and welcome to Dadages. I'm your host, Chad Hagle. And if you are looking for some fatherly wisdom for your career, your family, or any other aspect of your life, then you've come to the right place. If you want to learn more about Dadages, find additional content, submit questions, or feedback to me, visit dadages.com. Thanks for being here. And before you listen to our podcast, please listen to your father. Welcome back to the second half of our interview with Craig Cooke. Friends and family, just to recap, in our last episode, we learned what business kung fu is. We learned about Craig's background growing up in an entrepreneurial family and building a successful technology-driven startup, and we learned about his lifelong study of martial arts and talked about fundamental principles of organizational structure, including most notably discipline. And we learned what Chinese five-element theory is. Today, we return to the focus on the Dadage. Good health is not the only thing that matters, but without it, nothing else matters. But first, we pick up right where we left off, talking about developing key techniques in business.
Sure. Thank you for that comment too. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yes, an analogy I like to use, or an example, I should say, what I like to use. Let's look at the design profession. Like I mentioned earlier, how my wife is a really talented graphic designer.
Of course. So you've seen that firsthand.
I saw it firsthand, and then I developed it myself because she taught me a lot. Also, she actually taught me a lot of skills, and then she also taught me a lot of knowledge as well. And I had my innate talent that it all came together. But yeah, we all have various talents, right? And it could be creative. It could be something that's more the logical mind, engineering, whatever, right? We have talents, but it's not enough. Yeah, you need to, it's like a trinity, a sacred trinity in the sense here of talent, knowledge, and skills. So in the design world, someone could have that natural creative talent that's within. They're just very highly creative person, right? And then they might have a lot of knowledge about design, just what or fine design aesthetics, what makes good design, shape and form and texture and color theory, all these different things, even like art history, all this knowledge that comes into play, right? That helps to couple with that talent to bring the potential up to another degree. But then skills are needed. So skills are kind of like what tools are available to you, like what can you use to apply that knowledge and your innate talent that you have to produce something, to create something, to produce value, right? So with someone like her as a designer in the modern world was using the computer with programs like Photoshop. There's all kinds of programs out there, especially today, Canva and all those things. But essentially software that have all these different tools in it, and you have to add skills. You had to be very skillful in using that software. You had to develop software skills. You had to do that particular application and all the tool set, because these softwares has tools in them, the toolbox. And you have
now that we live in a digital world, if you're an artist, you really have to have these dual sets of skills, the skills in the creation of the art itself, and then the skills to run the tool set that's required to create digital art.
Yes. And it all comes together with all those tools, because it's how you build up your skill set using those tools, coupled with your knowledge and leveraging your innate talent.
Another example that I have actually from today, I had breakfast with one of my team members, and we were talking about skill development for him. And in his case, it's a dual set of skills. It's related to financial modeling. He feels that he wants to develop his skill set to be able to understand and create real estate financial models and understand the components that go into them in building a good model. But then he also identified that he's got shortcomings in the skills required to use the tools, which in this case is Microsoft Excel, which is an extraordinarily powerful piece of software that most people maybe can skim the surface and know how to use 0.1% of what Excel can do for you. But if you really learn the tool set and learn how to use it, it can become very powerful. And if you combine the ability to use the platform and the ability to understand what you're producing, it can be very, very powerful.
100%. And that individual has all this theoretical knowledge of how to do financial modeling. I'm sure it's the skill of that, utilizing the tools in that application that need to come into play.
Put all the pieces together.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And you talked in the book about how, as you just described, this can happen at the individual level, but it also has to happen at the organizational level. Organizations actually refine their skills and perfect their core competencies. Can you talk a little bit more about how that happens at the organizational level as well?
Sure. So all that comes together, as you said, not only individuals, but an organization is a collection of individuals working together as a team and all combining their various talents, skills, and knowledge to produce something of value, right? Now, as they go about that, there's going to be certain core competencies that rise to the surface. So whether it's a product line, a certain type of product, or say a number of services. So for example, in the company that I ran, website development was one core service. Email marketing was another core service, search marketing, online display advertising, digital content production, apps, and analytics. So we had like 7 core services. Later on down the road, we kind of whittled it down to 6, but it was a collection of core services that we had developed our capabilities in those services to a high degree, which I also allude to in the book, or refer to it in the book as discipline technique, where you bring a certain technique to its highest potential. And the things that you build up a discipline technique, you can think of those that should be your core service or core product offerings. It's what you can do the best at.
That's great. And you go on in the book to talk about how that can lead you to this sense of balance that we were talking about at the individual level, that balance can exist in an organization as well. You say it's imperative that you spend time developing your organization just as you would develop your body. In other words, you embody what you know and understand through the experiences you put your body through. Once your systems, processes, and behaviors are embodied, everything is natural and your organization is in homeostasis, an ultimate state of balance and stability. That's corporate harmony right there. That's amazing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you recognizing these excerpts out of there, because it's really special to me.
Your business may have been all about rhythm, but to me, it seems like it was also about harmony.
Thank you. Yeah, the two go hand in hand for sure.
Of course,
Yeah,
of
right,
course.
Right.
So when we're talking about harmony, that really brings us to, one of the core areas that you talk about in the book and what's really the core of what we talk about here today. And that's really taking care of yourself first and foremost. And you say that if I had to summarize a recommended approach, think of it this way: it's better to be of service to yourself so that you can then be of service to others. If you spend all your time putting everyone else before yourself, you will eventually burn out through a damaged mind, body, and spirit. But by taking care of yourself first, you can last a lifetime in service to others. Again, this is, to me, is amazingly well put, very succinct, but very clear, talking about this priority of taking care of yourself. Tell us about when that became apparent to you, when you realized in the course of your career, I had to take care of me. I had to take care of Craig before I could do everything else I needed to do for my organization.
Yes, this was a hard lesson I had to learn through experience, right?
Yeah.
And it was a mistake I made, not taking care of myself. But, it's a mistake. We all make mistakes. And as long as you acknowledge that there are mistakes and you learn from it, then you're better for it, right? And yeah, maybe I could say it was a mistake, but I'm able to share this with others to help others now. So I would say right around 2005, I was in a state of bad health. When I started the company at age 25, I was in great shape.
You're bulletproof at 25.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And I was studying martial arts intensely. I did a lot of strength training also, and I was just in great shape. Fast forward 10 years, at 35, I was at the other end of the spectrum, just overweight, just out of shape. And then we fast forward to when I started hitting 40, I'm starting to get more tired, lack of energy. And right around 2012, when I was 42, I noticed like, yeah, I need to do something about this. So I slowly started to work on some things. And then in 2014, I came across medical Qigong, which is a good topic to come back to. But in 2016 was the big pivotal moment. I met this one gentleman who worked at this wellness center, which I go to now. It's a really great place. Naturopath doctors, a gym with trainers and chiropractors, nutritionists, etc. They're called Stark Life.
Sounds
really,
like a wonderful health home.
it really is. That's a great way to put it. Health home, and a wonderful health home at that. And this guy said, "Why don't you just come in and get a blood panel?" And I was like, yeah, sure. I wanted to do that for a long time. And I hadn't been to the doctor in like 10 years, like a typical dude, like never going to the doctor, right? And I thought, it can't be that bad. So sure. So I went in, I got my blood panel, and then came back with a diagnosis of diabetes. And there's all this other stuff that was wrong too, like inflammation. And
diabetes is often part of a cascade of things. It doesn't just exist in isolation.
Right. But that was the big one that she saved for last, and that like hit me really hard. Like, wow, they ran in the family, and it was just like, wow, I got this already. Like, wow, this is way too early. And that's when I really decided, okay, I need to do something about this. And we talked. He said, well, I could prescribe you some medication. I said, I really don't want to do that. I'd rather take care of it naturally. She said, well, you can do it, but it's a lifestyle change. I said, all right.
Big change.
Yeah, let's go that route. She said, okay, well, here you go. This is your plan. So it's a lifestyle change. She said, it's a lifestyle change. And I said, okay, well, that's what I'll do. And then really started to work on my health big time and taking care of myself first. And one of the big adjustments I made, besides food, obviously, was waking up early, do self-care. So I'd get up at 4:20 to do strength training, because strength training is really good for diabetes, and to get over to the gym by 5 o'clock and do that. Better diet. My Qigong practice was also helpful as well. Walking, sleep, hydration, supplementation, all these different things combined to take care of myself. And I just realized at that moment, I have to take care of myself, because I'll just go on for another moment here. Where I found myself when I got that diagnosis, it was like crystal clear. It all makes sense now. Okay, I get it. This is why I was feeling so burned out in the afternoon. This is why I had foggy mind. This is why after I ate dinner and sat on the couch, suddenly I crashed and fell asleep for 2 hours. Like that would never happen before. And so it all made sense. And that's when I was like, okay, this isn't sustainable. I have to take care of myself.
So today, are you still diagnosed with diabetes, or have you been able to transcend and get your blood chemistry back to where it needs to be?
I have reversed it 100% naturally, no medication.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Very few people can say that, because, diabetes is such a deep, dark hole that people can fall into, and it becomes self-perpetuating. And oftentimes when you go on the medications that you're talking about, you do become dependent upon them, and it exacerbates the circumstance to where you'll be on them for the rest of your life. I know that you mentioned it was genetic. My wife, half her family is Filipino, and diabetes is very prevalent in the Filipino culture. And when she talks to her aunts and stuff, they're like, you don't have the diabetes?
Yeah.
We all have the diabetes. Why do you not have the diabetes?
Yeah. I've had like an aunt refer to it as, the native curse, because we're mixed blooded American Indian. And no, I get it. Yeah. So similar.
So Qigong, let's come back to that. You talked about how instrumental and influential that practice was in arriving at complete health for yourself. You've taken this on now and are delivering this type of service and wellness to others as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So this was another pivotal moment for me in 2014, because I was what contributed, my poor health contributed to this state of mind. But a lot of this was really coming from the stress and demands of running a company. As you know, when you have your team members and you have their needs that you need to address, right?
Stress? What stress?
Right. Yeah. Right. And then you have your clients with their demands and, wants and desires and needs. And then you have vendors, and then you have your family life, right? And you're juggling all these balls and trying to keep everyone happy, especially when you're not taking care of yourself. You're trying to, keep everyone happy. I found myself really out of balance, just off-centered and out of balance. mentally, emotionally. I mean, not wildly, but just not myself, right? A friend of mine referred me to this one gentleman, and this is in 2014, that was a medical Qigong practitioner. So I looked up his website and I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I was familiar with Qigong from studying Chinese Kung Fu. There's the martial Qigong. There's 3 branches: martial, medical, and spiritual. And I had experienced the martial Qigong, and there's health and wellness aspects there to that. And I was intrigued. I was like, wow, I wonder if this guy's the real deal. I've never met anyone that's the real deal like this. So I went, and sure enough, he was the real deal. I had a great experience. And then I'd go see him once a month. And after 6 months, I found myself feeling so much more centered and balanced. It was amazing. And then his name is Russ Anderson, just a great guy, another, pivotal mentor in my life, as we were talking about teachers.
Sounds like a powerful influence. Yeah.
He's really a powerful influence. Absolutely. Yeah. And at the beginning of 2015, this is 6 months later, he said, hey, would you like to learn how to do this work? I said, absolutely. Yes. And he took me on as a student. I was actually his first student. So I studied under him for like 6 years, and then started really taking care of myself, but also learning how to do the work with others as well. And then he moved to Texas a few years ago. But then recently, since I was able to exit my company after I sold it, I enrolled in this doctorate program for Chinese energetic medicine. And it's taught by a renowned master in the space. He's written tons of books on the subject.
Wow.
And
so you're really all in now.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely all in. It's really transformative. And I finished this program this August. And so for the past 9 years, I've been practicing doing the work with myself, but also conducting work with others. And I've conducted over 800 sessions on more than a couple hundred different people in the past 9 years. And it's wonderful work. It's for me, it was a game changer in running my company.
So in professional life, you've got a lot of marketing experience. If you were to give somebody the elevator pitch on Qigong to say what it can do for them and why they should be focused on this as one of the pathways in their life, what would that pitch be?
I would say Qigong, I like to put it in 3 buckets. It can bring healing, self-transformation, and energy optimization to your life, leading to complete balance.
All powerful things for sure.
Yeah.
And when you talk about complete balance, let's talk about balance in your life. You are a family man. You have children now. You've learned a lot of lessons professionally. You've learned a lot of lessons through your study of martial arts. You've learned lessons through Qigong. How do you pass those lessons on to your children? Are they involved in Kung Fu, or do they get exposed to Eastern philosophy and medicine and things like that? Does this feed into your family life too?
It does to an extent, but kind of like an old Taoist proverb is do not force, let things happen naturally. So that's something, I just really embrace that things happen the natural way. And like my son, for example, I've been teaching him Kung Fu on and off for the past couple of years, and he likes it, but he's not like into it like I was, but I don't want to force it.
It's not his one thing.
Yeah, it's not his one thing. Everyone's different and unique, and they come into this world with their soul blueprint and what they're supposed to do, and their set of talents and interests and what life is going to bring them and what they are attracted to. And why should I detract from that, right? I want to offer something. Here's something to offer that could be of benefit to you. Try it out, but I'm not going to force it. Because then it becomes
provide the exposure and then let them find their way.
Exactly. And then he actually went and studied some jiu-jitsu for a little while too, to kind of branch out. And it was good because, he gets to do his own thing, instead of like.
My son has really gotten into jiu-jitsu as well. He, has been a football player since age 6. He's a highly trained quarterback. There was a point in time when it was during his senior year. He had finished his last season. It wasn't clear if he was going to have the opportunity to play in college. And we kind of sat down and came up with plan B, like how else can he spend his time? What can he invest himself into if football isn't going to be in the picture? And how can he try on for size life without football? And for him, he found his way into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. The mental stimulation, the competitive aspect, the physical rigor, pushing your body, pushing yourself to the limits was something that really appealed to him. And now he did play football for a year at Stanford, and he's made a difficult, but I think the right decision to step away from it. I know it's the right decision because I've seen him blossom since doing so, and he's gravitated back toward Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And so he just found a great facility to train at that actually some of the top Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters in the world are in San Jose at AKA. It's known as like one of the meccas of BJJ. And a couple of the guys have come up to Palo Alto where he's in school and are working at a local gym in Palo Alto. So he's getting right in his backyard some of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training. And it for me, I'm seeing through him, and I know it's a different martial art than Kung Fu, but it's all kind of in the same family, right? It's about this discipline and this mental focus and all of that.
100%. That's a great art too. And actually, even though I started with Chinese Kung Fu, my instructor's instructor, Harry Castell, he eventually, in the early 90s, he stepped away from Alan Lee's Kung Fu Wusu temple and started his own martial art system. And he did kind of like the Bruce Lee thing where he incorporated a variety of different arts, but his philosophy was like, just be open to everything. Whatever works for you, embrace it and own it and make it your own so you can adapt to others. This has a whole methodology and a philosophy. It's really brilliant, actually.
And that's controversial to some, right? Like in that martial arts world, there are a lot of people who are very siloed and rigid about their practice, right?
It's like religion, very, very purist, very fundamentalist. Like this is the system. It must be this way. Nothing, do not diverge, right, from this.
Not deviate.
Yeah, do not deviate at all, right? Yeah. It's interesting. But that's just how life evolves, is by people coming together from various backgrounds and cultures to share and eventually create something new.
Yeah, that's the way the most beautiful things on earth are created, is bringing different things together and seeing what the product of that is. Now, of all of the things that you've learned along the way, of all the wisdom you've internalized, do you feel that there are one or two really core things, whether it's go-to advice or lessons that you've learned or philosophies that you've picked up that you really, really want to instill into your kids in the next generation that you feel are so fundamental to them leading happy and healthy lives? Are there things that come to you as like, these are the core things that I really want to hope that I can pass on to my kids?
Yeah, actually, the context of my book is in a business context because it's the entrepreneurial journey. It really can be seen as a roadmap for life. And
absolutely. Yeah.
If you take it out of the context of business and extrapolate that and apply it to just whatever your pursuit is and your path. When I got my first books printed, I signed my books to my kids, gave them each a copy. And I said, I hope this is something that you'll have forever, and I hope it helps guide your path in some way. It's really, a lot of it is in the book, actually. Just when we were talking about balance, we're talking about, the five elements. Doesn't have to be of 5 elements of entrepreneurship. It could be 5 elements of success or life success.
So have they started quoting it back to you now when they see you get out of balance?
No, see, my kids are teenagers right now, so it's a very interesting dynamic, right? And yeah, it would be funny if they would be catching me, but like, I know my son started reading it and he's read the first chapter, but I just checked in with him I think it was last week. So have you read any more of the book? No, not yet. I said, how far did you get? Yeah, the first chapter. Okay.
It's a start.
It's a start.
Begin at the beginning.
Yeah, it's the beginning. And I was actually surprised that he read it so quickly and, started it anyways. It'll be there for him and he'll read it when he's supposed to read it. And my daughter has it sitting on her desk, which is really looks cool. It's like, just like she put it there. It's almost like decorative, but she hasn't read it yet, but it's sitting there on her desk. Like it's a proud display of her dad's work, which is neat, but she'll read it.
Dad, did you see, Dad? Did you see what's on my desk?
Yeah.
That's a daughter for you, looking out for Dad, right?
Right. She probably shows her when her friends come over. She probably says, "Oh yeah, my dad wrote that."
Well, I can tell you my older son is 20 now, and just last week was the very first time that I've ever had either one of my boys take something that I've said and quote it back to me. In this case, he wasn't calling me out or saying that it was something that I was missing. He was taking something I had said and saying, "Dad, I just saw this at work. I saw it happen in real life." And the thing that he latched onto is I talk about how in my career, I've found that my success is derived from relationships and performance. And the first of those two is really more important. of the two. And he said, Dad, I saw this happen. I was at this competition, which it was an intellectual competition. It was called an estimathon, total geek thing, where they're doing all of these Fermi questions and trying to answer things that can't be answered but can be estimated. And he said, Dad, if I went in there by myself, I would have gotten obliterated. I would have gotten flattened by the people in there. But when I showed up, I found people that I had connected with in other places at other times. I was able to bring together those people that I saw, and it was my relationships with them that allowed us to build a team. And we came in second in the entire competition because we could put this team together. And I saw from my own eyes that it is about relationships leading to performance. And I was so like, that was a proud moment as a dad to be like, oh my gosh, you did listen. You did hear what I said.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's so cool. Wow. What a wonderful
So if your kids are teenagers, just wait. It's coming. It's coming. The reward is coming.
Yeah.
The payoff.
My son's 18 and my daughter, she'll be 15 in a couple weeks here, 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, clearly, Craig, you've picked up a lot along your way through your Kung Fu practice, through your professional life, through your family life. You've got a lot to share. If members of the Dadages friends and family want to find a way to connect with you, if they want to work with you, if they want to get in touch with you, you mentioned your website earlier, but how can people get in touch with you and what would that look like? What does I want to work with Craig Cooke? What comes out of that?
So 2 areas to get in touch with me, the easiest are through my website. There's a form on there. I keep my email off just so I don't get massive amounts of spam, but there's a form, easy to fill out. It's really short. I monitor it daily, right? And then also on LinkedIn, people can find me on LinkedIn/in/Craig Cooke with the E at the end of Cook. So Craig Cooke. My website is c-squaredpro.io. So the letter C, squaredpro.io. C squared because it's Craig Cooke. That's in case people didn't figure that out. So those are the 2 best ways to get in touch with me. I'm on other social media channels and that's great and all, but those are the 2 spots that I'm most actively monitoring and people get the quickest response. And then to your other question, what does that look like? It depends on what someone has the need for. In my consulting work, I have identified 3 pillars based on my experience in running a digital agency for 26 years. And that is marketing communications with an emphasis on digital experiences, and then brand development, and then leadership development. And with the marketing and brand development, it's really much more about the strategy. I myself, really not doing the execution work, although I can at times, but I can refer them to people that can do the execution work. Just kind of depends on the scenario, but it's more focused on the strategy portion. On the leadership side, that's where, based on my experience of running a successful agency, Inc. 5,000 list 5 years in a row, best places to work 4 years in a row, working on organizational culture. It's like executive advisory is what it would look like. And then that's where people that are interested in the energetic practices that we've talked about, I bring that into the fold as well. Like really couples well with the leadership portion, because how I mentioned, it was such a game changer for me in running my company. And there's aspects of that can come in. And then I'm also available for people that really want to focus in on that, because I really love that work and I'm happy to share it for like workshops. I was just leading an executive peer group through some Qigong routines and a couple of weekends ago at a retreat, and then another mastermind group last month as well.
That must be equally rewarding for them and for you, being able to take something you're so passionate about and engaging with groups and people with that tool set and those disciplines and knowledge that you can bring.
Yeah, and it really creates for a unique experience. Like the feedback I got from people at those groups was like, wow, like this one meditation I took people through, like, wow, that's the most powerful meditation I've ever experienced. That was amazing. And then these other sets of exercise, wow, I've never done anything like that. That was so different, so unique, but I can actually feel energy. Wow, that's crazy. Like, it's just, it's cool. It's just fun stuff to share, but it's impactful. And it's something that can help people, from my experience as a business leader and sharing that, I can relate to other professionals like yourself. It's not like I'm this monk that came down from the mountain that's been meditating in the cave and says, oh, life is all butterflies and rainbows and isn't life wonderful? Like, no, I'm grounded in the real world, and with all the challenges that we have, I have had those challenges. I can relate to those challenges, and this is something that helped me tremendously. And
yeah, you're able to reach people where they're comfortable in their own environment and then take them on a journey in a different direction that they may not have thought of before.
Right. 100%.
It's a great skill. It's a very great skill.
Yeah,
well, Craig, your Kung Fu is strong.
Thank you so much.
What I want to know now is, how strong is your humor? You know that here at Dadages, we practice the art of the bad dad joke. Do you have a terrible dad joke that you can share with us to show your prowess?
Sure, I do. This one's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So, why do couples go to the gym?
I don't know. Why do couples go to the gym?
They want to see how their relationship will work out.
Oh, my. Yeah. Yeah.
Bad, right? Or,
well,
what do you call a group of monkeys that start a group of apes that start a company?
I don't know.
Monkey business.
Monkey business.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, the first one resonates a little more with me because I actually met my wife at the gym. We met in spin class, and it's a fundamental part of our lives. So our relationship has worked out really well.
Well, in more ways than one.
But I have one dad joke that I found that's right on point with our topics today.
Okay.
And I went to Stanford, and at Stanford, one of our mottos is fear the tree. So do you know what is the name of the tree that is the best fighter in the forest?
No, I don't.
Spruce Lee.
Yeah, that's definitely a dad.
So we've come full circle.
Yeah, that's great.
A terrible full circle.
Yeah, but that stuff's hilarious. I love those.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Awesome. Well, Craig, this has been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the time we spent together. Good insights wrapped inside of good fun. Thank you so much for spending time with the Dadages friends and family. And I hope this was a good experience for you as well.
Oh, 100% it was. Thank you, Chad, for having me and for taking the time to dive into the book and get those excerpts out and that their commentary really means a lot. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a great book, and I was really able to relate to it. And I think the members of the friends and family will too. So I urge them to check it out. Until we join the friends and family next time, remember, Dad may not always know what he's talking about, but he sure can sound like he does.